DADO is a software platform for the construction industry. So a typical customer for DADO will take a project, which is a collection of all kinds of information. So think of drawings and specifications and thousands of documents, connect it to our platform. DADO can automatically kind of index and organize that information. And what they get then is a very usable kind of database of information on that project. So for example, I might be on the 3rd floor trying to install a toilet. I need to know what fixture, what toilet carrier is going to be used. I can just ask DADO, hey, what toilet carriers are approved for the 3rd floor men's room, without having to dig through folders and dig through all that structure. So that's kind of the core problem we solve, and we got there through working with Mach 49 and really getting to the user and understanding that use case. How do you go to market during a pandemic? I think in this space it was particularly difficult because, while a lot of the office world moved to Zoom, a lot of the construction world kept working through the pandemic. Our process of selling things is really kind of going and meeting people kind of belly to belly, introducing them to the product, giving them a demo. And these are people that aren't in front of Zoom, not in front of the screen all day. So our ability to reach those people during the pandemic was extremely difficult. I would say, it kind of forced us into areas where, certain types of projects and companies that were open to still having meetings, and we did what we could online. And thank goodness now we're kind of back to some of the trade shows and industry events that we really thrive on to meet customers and kick off pilot. Selling into the construction industry, I think, is a little bit different than what a lot of investors are used to. And there are reasons, viral loops, kind of just industry fragmentation that exists in construction uniquely that a lot of other startups don't appreciate. And so if you're an investor in startups and you're used to finding product market fit and then this amazing hockey stick, in some of these blue-collar spaces in construction, that doesn't happen quite like that. And you really need to figure out how to, grow sales in a kind of a non-digital way. You can't just put a Facebook ad out and expect all this inbound. People don't call you and say, hey, I'm looking for construction tech. You have to go convince them that they're looking for it. And I think that's true for a lot of kind of blue-collar tech. Everybody thinks they've got the perfect product when they, launch, or they, their MVP is going to, in a scale into billions of dollars. The reality is nobody gets it right on the first pass. And unless you're willing to really, with discipline, listen to the user, get the feedback, both anecdotal, kind of qualitative as well as quantitative, having the right data and analytics, you really don't, you can get a lot of false signals that you've got the right product. So I think we've had a lot of success, especially in the last, probably the last 6 months, of really a lot of usage, where we're able to understand what parts of the product are working well and double down on those areas, and also be rigorous on all these other things that people want, but you have to really dig in. Is that really what, is that really the problem you're trying to solve, or are you just taking a broken process and incrementally changing it? So I think we've been successful in really building a tight customer relationship, which allows us to move quick on building features that matter. One of them is making sure you understand all the stakeholders involved. And I think a lot of technology companies have solved one problem over here and created 2 problems over there by not really mapping out the stakeholders. And there's a lot of tech, especially in our space. We might solve a problem in the office, but make life a lot harder for like the field workers, for example. You've created all this friction in the field to optimize a problem just for maybe one person in the office. And I think there's a lot of examples of technology like that. Mach 49 taught us to really understand the stakeholders, all of the stakeholders involved, and validate that potential solution with each of the stakeholders to make sure that when we do bring a product to market or a new feature to market, that we're kind of solving both sides, or sometimes it's 3 sides of that equation, making sure that we're actually bringing total value to the business, not just solving kind kind of one pain point for one persona. So fantastic. We still have that kind of built into our DNA today. And I think the second piece is this idea to rapidly prototype or to get feedback quickly without spending too much time building the feature. And I mean, we've probably even embraced that even more recently in the business of not trying to over-design things until we've got some signal. And the reality is you don't need to build the product. You can just take a pen, draw it on a piece of paper and show it to somebody and probably get 80–90% of the feedback you would have gotten if you spent 6 months building the feature. And that, that kind of that low fidelity prototyping, that has been a huge superpower for DADO in quickly testing solutions, validating them, and then building what matters.